Hello guys, this is Modest Major here, bringing you some gameplay over some Combat Evolved footage. The gameplay in the background is very average, but I kind of chose that intentionally because I get a lot of deaths and I get a lot of kills, and it kind of cements the point that I want to make in this video. Now, with the gaming industry recently, in the AAA multiplayer space, we've seen the simplification of a lot of big blockbuster games. If you compare something like Destiny to Halo 1, the difference in skill gaps is night and day. If you compare something like Battlefield Hardline to Battlefield Bad Company 2, once again, the difference is night and day. If you compare something like Call of Duty 4, very bare bones, simplistic with very limited kill streak usage, versus Advanced Warfare, where you get in these giant helicopters and you fudge people up. The differences are pretty staggering, to say the least. And recently, I have sort of developed a more cynical attitude towards these kind of games and towards, my own outlook and perspective on what I want to play and what I'm willing to put up with. Because really, I think that that's the consumer's main choice when it comes to picking their favorite multiplayer game. It's like, I want this to be satisfying to do well at and to get kills on and to do... I don't want to feel completely broken and dejected all the time. I want to feel pretty good about myself. So there needs to be this balance between this is fairly difficult. It's difficult enough to give you the sense that you're fighting against someone and that you're beating someone and that you're winning against the enemy team, whilst also not going overboard and being a little bit too stiff and strict and, too many rules and stuff and too punishing, I should say. Because for the longest time I was developing this mindset, and there was this game coming out by the name of Toxic, which, on the trailers it said no loadouts, no BS, no kill streaks, etc. And it was an extremely simple game, and it was extremely bare bones. So the focus is on aiming and skill and high skill curve. And, in my head I thought, well, this is exactly what I want. The graphics look, tremendous. There's a lot going on for it. But really, what I found out is that I think I like more so to lean towards the competitive side of things in a game, but I don't necessarily mind the rules being bent every so often. And honestly, a big part of my enjoyment from a game can come from the rules being bent. A good example of this is if you look at Mario Kart on the N64. Mario Kart N64 would have been a extremely bare bones, and I would have to argue tedious game if it weren't for the item usage. And it was the item usage that really spiced things up and that got, the ball rolling. It made Mario Kart unique, it made it exciting, it made it fresh because there were so many possibilities and there were so many dynamics behind the concept of item usage and when to use it and when the right times are. You hold a banana for the right amount of time until someone gets a little bit too close behind you and boom, flick out the banana and he goes flying and you're loving life. And I enjoy that. Mario Kart wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be the same game, and it's honestly one of the reasons why Halo 3 is my favorite Halo game, because there's a lot of that at play. There's a lot of dynamic, gameplay options using stuff like the equipment, just the actual sandbox in terms of the way the weapons are projectile, and the vast amount of vehicles and vehicle usage and the elephants on Sandtrap, etc. I don't mind a couple of elements that, bend the rules a little bit, because I think in the Halo community recently, there's been a little bit of an attitude of like, oh, if it's the more skillful game, it's the better game, and the other game is trash. And obviously that's a very exaggerated personification of that argument, but at the same time, it does get under my skin a little bit when I feel like, oh, I have to admit that I'm a casual for liking X game versus X game, whereas really, it's just on my scale, I'm willing to... It still gives me satisfaction whilst also keeping things fresh, because, to be straight up with you guys, the game I've least been enjoying on the Master Chief Collection right now is Combat Evolved, and I know I can imagine someone typing a comment right now saying, I hate your opinions and I hate your face, Major, and I get it, because Combat Evolved does have a lot good to it. I think it arguably has the best gunplay in the series to date. It's the most satisfying gunplay, and to me, when I look back in time, when Halo 2 was actually coming out, I remember being this massive elitist about the fact that they were changing the pistol to the BR, because the pistol, to me, is in part what made like this game really unique and stand out. It was sort of like the Gnasher in Gears of War, where you started with a primary shotgun weapon, starting with a Magnum that looked like a Desert Eagle that's like clunky as hell, and the animations for it, for like meleeing, are just so satisfying. So there is a lot to it, don't get me wrong, but for me, the way in which the spawn system in this game works is, even if it's the most competitive system of spawning ever, and I'm not arguing that, I'm not trying to dispute that whatsoever, it just, for me, it crosses a line where it's more competitive, its competitiveness is infringing on its funness. You know, if that's the way spawning in FPS should be done, then call me a casual, slap a casual label on me, because I want to feel like I have the chance to adapt. I get it, like, the whole system, you know, is supposed to punish players who don't come in with a game plan, who don't come in rock solid, who don't come in with that teamwork, but I feel like once you've initially started getting spawn killed, it's very hard to bounce back. Of course, much harder than previous Halo games, because the kill time is so fast, and the kill time is so punishing, that you just feel trapped. And for me, you know, my favorite moments in gaming is when I have time to think through my actions and to clear my head. And I've always felt like that in Halo 3. You know, it takes a while for the ball to get rolling, and there's a lot of momentum to matches, and you have a lot of time to rectify your mistakes and to get back into the battle. And I understand that that might be slowing down gameplay, it might be a little bit more casual, but I definitely prefer that to spawning and then seeing pistols in my face and then just feeling terrible about my life. So I'm willing to accept the fact that I'm not good enough, and I don't, you know, I don't have the time to put into that game, and make sure that I'm not getting punished 24/7, because for me, the experience of learning that game is not fun, and I want to feel like I'm enjoying it. You know, going back to the Halo 3 argument, you can avoid getting trashed in Halo 3, and maybe other games, you know, you could say like Halo 4, you can avoid getting trashed in those games just by playing a little bit smarter. Whereas if you didn't come in on your A game from the very beginning, you are absolutely screwed. And I totally see how that's satisfying, but I don't think we should look down on people for, you know, finding the other end of the scale enjoyable, where there is time to adapt, where there is time to enjoy your game. Because at the end of the day, these are games, you know, these are hobbies, and if something doesn't provide you enjoyment, that doesn't make them a casual, that just makes them have different tastes to you and enjoy different styles of game. So the amount of time people say, oh, you don't like Combat Evolved because, like, you're getting wrecked right now, it's like, no, I mean, I'm just, well, that is partly true, to be fair, but, like, at the end of the day, this isn't the sort of getting wrecked that I'm enjoying, that I feel like I'm learning from, and it feels like I have to read a textbook just to dig into it, and that's just not my kind of learning. Anyway, hope that commentary wasn't too controversial for you guys. It was just something that was spinning around my head. Because, you know, I don't feel like you should be afraid to say you don't like X game and you do like X game. And you do like Y game. It doesn't really matter. It's totally just opinions, and people shouldn't be hated on for enjoying whichever game they may please. Yeah. So anyway, I've been Modest Major. Hope you guys enjoyed this commentary. Peace out.